All right, guys, we're back again this evening, like always. Although I actually need to fix the logos. Forgot about those. Busy getting everything else set up. It'll only take a second. But thanks again for joining me this evening. We got ourselves offensive gaming facing off against Sean Kingston. Last night we saw Sean Kingston perform pretty well overall. They took the game off of bad manners, but ultimately they did only split the series, which, technically not the worst thing in the world, winning half your matches. But where they are in the standings, they definitely can use a little boost by getting, a domination victory more so than only splitting a series. All right, fix those up. Now, offensive gaming is actually higher in the standings than even bad manners are. So this is going to definitely be a much more difficult matchup than bad manners was previously for Sean Kingston. We should be getting started very shortly. Oh, I didn't. Okay, so there's actually someone in here that wasn't part of one of the teams. So we wound up with someone who was not actually part of offensive gaming, and I thought I was waiting for them to say that they were ready, but they actually all weren't ready because the guy wasn't supposed to be in there. But we should be about ready now, I hope. Now that there's room for the real member of offensive gaming to get on in here instead of the fake the fake member of offensive gaming. Looks like everything is ready. So hopefully you're all excited to see how this plays out between these two teams. If Sean Kingston could pull off another victory against, based on standings, a superior opponent, or if all right, we got one ready, or if Sean Kingston will be taken down a peg once again, and his latest single falling off the charts quite fast, or if they'll be rising up those charts with some victories. So, all right, so we got the match actually going for realsies now. We're going to jump on into the draft. We got Tomb of the Spider Queen, and we're just waiting for players to load on in. The dreaded waiting for players issue. There we go. So this is a map, you guys, if you've been watching me at all the past few days, FWC Esports has been advised or coached that they should be playing Tomb of the Spider Queen, getting good at it, and then transferring their skill in this map to other maps. So we've seen it 2 nights in a row with Tomb of the Spider Queen. Now, I believe we actually saw it in both games last night, and this will be another time for Sean Kingston to practice said map. We'll have offensive gaming banning out Diablo. This is a very solid ban because of how many walls there are to bang people against. Additionally, Devil's Due gets rather good value overall here because of the fact that the lanes are small. He can rotate and pick up globes all day long. Next up, we're going to see the Urel. Nothing too crazy there. And the white main is definitely a solid ban. I mean, we're talking about someone who is definitely a pain to deal with normally. The combination of damage, a lot of sustain, healing. She offers armor and a heal simultaneously, and so if you combine her with someone like a Garrosh basically has he's armor capped at that point. He hits potentially technically 80 armor, but you're capped at 75. So offensive gaming are going to kick things off right off the bat with Johanna. Now Johanna is probably slightly below in a lot of people's opinions of when you have your Muradin, you have your Diablo, and then Garrosh. They're Muradin and Diablo probably being the top dog right now. Muradin slightly below that, and Johanna's probably slightly below that too. However, depending on the strategy, Johanna is an excellent tank, especially if you want to draft assassins that are not very wave clear capable. Like, let's say, a Tracer. You don't see Tracer as much nowadays, but if you were drafting a Tracer, Johanna helps make up for her wave clear deficit. Now, they are going to pick up Alexstrasza and Jaina as well, so they aren't actually showing a lack of wave clear at this point. On the other side, we're going to get Gul'dan and Decker Cain. Now, the Gul'dan is a little off meta, and it's not a bad pick, but it doesn't see a lot of success, I feel, in a lot of matches. Not because Gul'dan is terrible, but because he becomes very, very likely to be gibbed. He has to rely on the Horrify to survive, and with a lot of CC, his drain is essentially negated. I mean, you drop a stun and he's draining no life, and then you essentially get nothing and can't survive the damage coming onto you. So Genji making it through the draft in the first ban phase. Now, I'm surprised they didn't pick him up on offensive gaming. I don't think it's a very good pickup necessarily in the 1-2 or in the 2 pickup for Kingston. He could be, but you're giving up a lot potentially there. Now, we are going to see the Blaze also banned out, so we've essentially locked out a lot of the solo laners. No Urel, no Blaze, which means you have heroes like Leoric, Thrall, that are all still available. Now, the Muradin and Hanzo. I like the Muradin because, well, like I said, he's just a very potent tank. He does what a tank should do. He has some CC, he has some control, he has ability to engage, disengage, and the ability to, well, pump his HP pool even higher, and then is much harder to kill. The Hanzo pick is a little bit in left field, just because this isn't necessarily, I think, Hanzo's best map, but it's not his worst. It's not the worst place for him. I do think after a bunch of nerfs that he suffered, that he should be focused on boss maps. This map, you can say, well, there's a boss. There's not as many merc camps to make him as worthwhile. Now, the Malthael pick is definitely interesting. We have also Lunara as a pick, which is very atypical. And, well, Malthael is about as atypical as you get, I feel. They have Dahaka, who can burrow from the last rites. Jaina, who can ice block it. Alexstrasza, I believe, will essentially go invulnerable if she takes Cleansing Flame. You have Johanna, who, well, she has a very large health pool. She has Laws of Hope that it is often the go-to. And then finally, that leaves Lunara really as your last rites target. However, Malthel should be able to hold against Dahaka. That's essentially the trade-off here. Malthel is going to be a better pick, very likely, than Leo, but he's not very tanky, which means that Sean Kingston is in a very awkward position right now, where offensive gaming has double warrior setup, which means they're tankier and they're not even playing with like a triple range. Someone like a Thrall, for instance, in the bot lane means you can play Thrall in two ways. You can play him as frontline, you can play him as backline with his chain lightning, and without chain lightning, actually, that means there's less poke. And Malthel has to go in, which means he's standing next to Muradin, and well, Malthel then becomes a very easy target overall to actually take down. So I'm going to give this over to offensive gaming based on their draft. I don't know how well the Malthel will actually work out for him. It feels a little iffy with all the tools available to prevent last rites from actually connecting. And additionally, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Hanzo on this map, largely because it's a very wave clear centric, and if you're not picking up the level 4 for boss clear, I feel like there's better heroes in a lot of cases. So we're going to jump on into the game now. We're going to have a light Nyx on the Alexstrasza. We have a Frank Jukes on the Johanna, Exalted One on Lunara, Slytherin on the Jaina, Sturge on the Dahaka, and that's going to be offensive gaming. On the other side, we got Mundane Zebra on the Malthel. We got Doobie on the Muradin. Wex on the Dahaka. On the Deckard Kane, we have Hellbent on the Gul'dan. And finally, Gold Fortune on the Hanzo. And that is going to be Sean Kingston. So we're going to have Malthel and Dahaka head right on bottom immediately. And Mundane has picked up on a Pale Horse. And so that means he'll be able to do rotations much more aggressively as he can get back much more quickly. And you can actually see at this point, Mundane Zebra is bodying Sturge, taking him down to half life without even having his level 4 available, which will increase the damage he can do. And Mundane actually coming on in at this point. I like this rotation because Mundane can come in, help his team if they need, and go back and clear it up pretty much immediately. Got Doobie coming on in the rear and not going to be able to do much at that point. And taking a look at the rest of the talents, we have Scroll of Identify, Echo Corruption, a Third Wind, and Simple Geometry. I do like the Third Wind, especially without the same sort of front line, so it's definitely a good pickup. Now, we have Laws of Hope, Natural Perspective, Enhanced Agility instead of the Tissue Regen, which I think is the normal go-to nowadays. We do have Fingers of Frost and Live and Let Live. Now at this point, rotations are pretty even overall. It's not going to be as good on the side of Sean Kingston. You can see Hellbent is actually waiting for the rest of the team to go and rotate, and Frank Jukes actually spotting him out and trying to delay him from rotating. Unfortunately for him, he didn't actually use the Shield Glare to knock him off the mount. So at this point, it's all pretty much even. We have only 4 stacks, only 450 milliseconds. Lag F, baby. Now, like I said, offensive gaming has the better clear, especially with Jaina, Johanna, and Lunara. That's a lot of clear. And with Third Wind, though, Doobie is able to take a lot of damage. I don't know if Doobie wants to take damage like that, just kind of like staring into the face of the beast. Still not a lot going on for Simple Geometry. I mean, 4 stacks. There's the damage from Gul'dan, getting the drain on in and coming back in hot Frank Jukes. But they traded into really the Muradin, and Muradin is not going to really have to worry about anything as he has Third Wind. But they're collapsing on down right now. Mundane has Gold Fortune coming on in, but this is a 3v2, and Mundane is not going to be long for this world, unfortunately, and Gold Fortune may not be long either, as he's going to be trying to stay up as long as possible, and unfortunately, he does not go down, and does not stay up. So with that, Gold Fortune will be sitting down here, and they'll take themselves a little bit of an XP lead. Unfortunately, Sean Kingston didn't rotate down and help, keep them protected. That's one of those things when you have someone doing the siege camp. Really, you want to rotate down someone else entirely, and you want them to be sneaky about it. So that way, when they do come down, you have two members there. You would have had Mundane Zebra and Gold Fortune already there, and Mundane Zebra could have been doing the camp while someone else soaked. Or what you generally want is you want your solo laner to stay there and someone to actually clear it out who isn't going to give away their position. So we got the interrupt, not going to be actually coming on in. Frank Jukes manages to get the turn in. We got Lightning's taking a chunk of damage, but it's not going to really deter them as they can keep on pushing in. We got Doobie taking up the position in the bush, going to get poked down, but we'll jump on over. At this point, we got 13 stacks and 5 stacks. Gold Fortune really needs to step up the simple geometry. He's not doing the math here, as you can see. I mean, he's basically never going to complete this at this rate. If we go by 5 stacks, 4.5 minutes in or 5 minutes in, that'll be 20 minutes before he roughly completes the quest. So top lane is getting shoved in by offensive gaming. This is really good. This is one of the things you want to be doing when you play Tomb of the Spider Queen. Take out that top wall, because if you take out the top wall and you push it on in, it becomes a lot easier to get value out of a boss. Though you're not only just going to get the top, they get mid and the well in mid. So they've gotten a lot of value. This is the big problem with the side of Sean Kingston's comp. All of their wave clear is in Hellband's hands, which means that there's a 3-to-1 ratio of wave clear when you take into account Lunara. And we're going to check if Lunara took Nature's Culling, and she did, which means that Lunara just has way too much clear for Sean Kingston to deal with at this point. There's 3 people who can clear this out in comparison. Doobie taking up the position, trying to get the turn in, but Hellbent is actually showing all the way up there right now, and Sturge going for Gold Fortune, going to miss the tongue, and Doobie coming on in, dropping the hammer in the meantime. So we do have Mundane Zebra turning in for free, and we'll be able to clear bot temporarily for free. Now we're up to 6, 17, 3, 3, and we have the Fingers of Frost completed, which is, a decent enhancement on the damage of Jaina. So Sean Kingston is going to definitely have to be cognizant of the additional damage Slytherin is going to be dishing out at this point. So 9 to 8, they've fallen down in levels, only had 1 death, which it means that Sean Kingston's rotation game is the problem right now. And like I said, they drafted a comp that has relatively low wave clear, and we actually have a full W build, which also makes this more awkward because their wave clear is going to suffer as well once again because of that. At this point though, both teams are actually playing it pretty safe between what they have drafted and how they're playing with only 1 kill. That's relatively well done outside of the actual macro and the draft that came. So Mundane Zebra getting onto Sturge, and they're going to actually start up this camp bottom, but they're rotating down 2 members, but Wex will be rotating on back up as well. But without a wall here, it's going to be very hard for Sean Kingston to take up an aggressive position. On the other side, offensive gaming, they can take up an aggressive position very easily. In fact, they can even walk in, if they so choose, much further than they could prior. Doobie is going to be interrupted here, trying desperately to get that turn in. Unfortunately, like I said, they have no control over the waves due to their draft, which makes it very easy for offensive gaming to prevent turn-ins from actually happening. So 39 to 55, 94 gems being held at this point. 10s are alive for both teams. They're collapsing on in from Gold Fortune, and not there. Doobie will be jumping on out, and they will actually get everyone out without nearly no action happening. Almost a little bit resident sleeper there, despite tents coming on out. And the blue web weavers will once again come on down. Offensive gaming just controlling this macro so much better. But in the meantime, Gold Fortune just outplaying Lunara in the mid lane there and securing a kill. This is actually great for Sean Kingston. Stale ball and listen coming on out. They're looking for it. Sturge getting bodied right now. Last Right's still available, and it's going to be used maybe. Listen, Bring of Frost coming on out. Doobie's going to have to jump on out, and the potion not going to connect quite yet. Mundane is going to be going down, and that is quite a few gems they'll be losing in the meantime as well. So Last Rites never came out as well, and Stay on While and Listen getting a little value, but not quite as much as you'd hope. At this point, look at this, like Gold Fortune way far forward. Frank Jukes is literally running his face into the fort and basically not scared of a solo Hanzo. We've seen the Web Weavers go down mid. Top is almost done for as well, but they can push on in rather hard. We got Mundane Zebra actually going to interrupt Frank Jukes' rotations, but the rest of Sean Kingston needs to be careful. 2 members of Sean Kingston down at the bottom. Sturge going to go rotate back down there. Keep vision in case there's, a potential for him to gank. But at this point, they're going to be losing the fort. Top lane, Sean Kingston loses the Gul'dan in the meantime. Not what you want to see. 3 kills to 1 kill, 13-11. They've barely, I don't even know if they've seriously touched any of these structures. They've barely touched any of these structures. They're now going to get boss with the extra time that they have with the extra man. And their team has so much clear. I mean, you have Exalted One, Slitherant. All of that is a lot of damage. And remember, she took Nature's Calling, so that's extra damage on all these mercs and all these bosses, and making her able to take down the boss significantly faster than many teams would expect. And now we have 3 web weavers back to back to back. Sean Kingston really starting to fall into a downward spiral at this point. We have Simple Geometry still not completed, 11 minutes into the game. My prediction for 20-minute completion is actually as mean as that sounded, it looks like it's going to pan out to be such. I mean, 22 out of the 40 on the Echo Corruption and 8 out of 20 on the Scroll of Identify. So Scroll of Identify working at about the same pace as Simple Geometry here. So we're going to also see the normal Icy Veins. Sean Kingston picked up the Web Weavers. Wow. Sean Kingston picked up the Web Weavers, but these back-to-back Web Weavers really putting a lot of damper, except if Sturge gets caught out here. Doobie coming on in. He already used his burrow, using that essence as well. He's not going to be able to body him. He did actually get Mundane Zebra on the case. We should see Last Rites available here. And wait, and Last Rites going to come out way too late. Mundane Zebra getting way too greedy there and not actually holding on to it. We got the Dragon coming on out. Mundane Zebra getting low here. And Sturge is back on in here. Doobie getting low as well. Gold Fortune dropping some damage onto Exalted One. But at this point, Mundane Zebra fully committed to try and kill someone. Unfortunately, it's going to just result in his own death. So after that complete whiff on who got the Web Weavers, kind of mind blank moment there. The Web Weavers resulted in nothing. That's one of the problems if you pick up Web Weavers so far back, especially against this team. I don't see how Sean Kingston gets back without sitting in a bush, ganking people, and getting a serious amount of kills. I mean, we still have only 9 stacks on Simple Geometry, 27 in 9 on the other side. So if they're currently not getting Last Right stacks, which is still at 0, I don't know how they're going to get the value out of the pick of Malthael. Doobie getting pulled on back, will have the leap and will just walk away. 16s are not here. That's the only good news. But 16s are going to arrive very shortly for offensive gaming, which is going to be a dramatically bad situation overall. With 16s in tow now and their superior macro and siege capabilities, they're going to be losing probably all the walls in mid lane, bot lane, and top lane. Additionally, Sturge is already pushing in top and can burrow on in, which he'll be doing right now. So they're looking for the keep here. There goes Frank Jukes, going to dish out the damage. The Blessed Chill coming on out and the leap. But stay a while and listen. But unfortunately, Hellbent has already gone down. Exalted One getting caught in the sleep, but it will not matter at all. Because 16, now it's a 17 versus 14, and they're pushing on and trying to end this game. Doobie going to get rooted in place. However, he will leap successfully. Mundane Zebra is trying to draw them away from the core for now. At this point, it looks like they will not be able to try to core as they've been delayed enough and lost their entire wave. Top will be successfully defended. Mid is mostly successfully defended. And at this point, Sean Kingston is really in a rock and a hard place now. Offensive gaming really going on full offense here, pushing in all these lanes as far as they can. They've taken down the walls in every lane. They've gotten themselves a keep advantage, which means that all they need to do is let these lanes from Sean Kingston push up very slowly, and then they can just take the gems, and then they go and get another turn in. I like what offensive gaming is doing here. They're sitting in the bush waiting because they still have a talent advantage. And if they come and push out to get some soak here, they can collapse on them right now. Boss is going to be up in 5 seconds. And at this point, they still have enough time on their hands to go and do the boss before Sean Kingston knows what's up. Additionally, they do have Sturge there pushing in the lanes, which means that they can't rotate freely. Doobie will be actually spotted out right now, as you can see, and Boss will be stopped immediately. They're now looking for the debate here, and they're going to get it out. Dragon coming on out, and the Blizzard Root. The combo, 2 members down almost immediately. Offensive gaming with a perfect debate, and Doobie will be falling, and that's going to be GG. All of the gems are lost, boss available, and they could even potentially end through the bot lane if they so chose. We're going to take a quick look at that again. Maybe. Guess not. Instant replay didn't work once again. So, boss is going to push in for this keep. This is only a 15-minute boss. They're very close now, offensive gaming, to hitting 20. Now, they finally hit 16. We're at 14, 28, and 11. But this comp from Sean Kingston is getting brutally destroyed. And we just saw Gold Fortune get brutally destroyed there. Now, Wex trying to save his team as best as he can with the sail while and listen, but unfortunately, they get behind him. The potions will not be enough, and 2 members are already down for Sean Kingston. With the boss in tow, 16 versus 20, this is going to be GG. There's not a lot that can actually happen here for Sean Kingston unless they are able to make magic happen. And well, although I do believe in magic, I'm not going to believe in it right here. And so, Sean Kingston getting seriously out macro this game, resulting in 10 kills to 1, a 20-17 win, and not a single structure going down on the side of offensive gaming. So we're going to pull up the stats in the nicer view. There we go. So stats. Exalted One hitting 39k. I mean, Mundane Zebra did a lot of damage. If you compare it to Exalted One, he did roughly the same damage. Hanzo, only 31k damage. Jaina, 28k damage. And really not completing that simple geometry means that's a lot less damage he was putting out overall. Jaina just topping Dahaka just a little bit there, and well, Gul'dan getting almost no value. Murden basically out DPS the Gul'dan that game, which is not what you want to see. That's actually pretty scary. Now, for total healing output, 40k to 60k. Basically 50% more healing done by Alex Straza, which is rather nice. And then finally for the tanking, Doobie did a ton of tanking, but you can see the extra tanking from Dahaka. Dahaka actually tanked more that game overall than Johanna. Without having that second frontliner or someone tankier than Malthael, it just resulted in it being much easier for them to run into Sean Kingston. So we're going to go to game 2, so sit on tight, and we'll be popping on up those replays.